A prominent gay couple recently made headlines when a leaked audio tape of an interview with one party making allegations of domestic violence surfaced. While the allegations have been denied, it's opened a discussion about intimate partner violence within same-sex relationships. So we ask, how prevalent are these, and does the police system actually deal with these cases indiscriminately or even adequately? For perspective, let's bring in our guests. Ndaba from the Forum of the Empowerment of Women, as well as an organization it's actually an organization for black lesbian women. Also joining our discussion is Lethu Bulose, who's chair of the Gay and Lesbian Alliance of South Africa. To both our guests, thanks very much indeed for your time. It's great to have you on the program. Fundi, I wonder if I can begin with you. I mean, in these discussions, do you get a sense as a start that enough people understand the difference between sex and gender?
There is some noise in background. What did you ask? The difference between?
I beg your pardon. Let me repeat the entire question in its entirety. When these discussions are actually taking place in the public domain, do you get a sense that there's enough of an understanding between sex and gender, or the difference between the two?
Good morning. Thank you for being invited to the show. I think most people are not aware of the same-sex relationships implication. If they are, the heteronormative way of life is being probably glorified more than the same-sex relationship. As a result, there is not much that is out there in the public, and if there is, it's shunned by the social systems in the country. So, if the question is, are people aware of the challenges that are faced by same-sex relationships? The answer is not necessarily, unless they play themselves in the public. And as the heteronormative way of life is the way that we know, and that's the only story that we'll only know about.
Let me bring you into the discussion, Lethu. I'm going to ask the question differently for you as well. Hopefully you'll help us understand some of the complexities. Yes. I've actually went as far as Googling the definition of gender-based violence. According to Google, it's violence meted out as a result of social norms about roles and behavior expected of each gender. With that in mind, why do you reckon many people struggle to understand GBV in a context of a same-sex relationship?
I think firstly, I think I want to outline the fact that I think we've been so programmed that we've made to believe that gender-based violence or domestic violence, that it's always been about abuse from men to women mostly, you know. So we've never been exposed to it from the same-sex perspective. I think that's where the problem starts. That with every time whereby gender-based violence is spoken about, that we are made to believe, we are programmed, or specifically we believe that it's a man abusing a woman, but we never ever get to actually look at a perspective view. Would see there could be a point whereby man could abuse another man or a woman to another woman. And that's where the problems start.
How is that misunderstanding led to affecting the ability to properly record these cases and deal with them adequately, do you think?
And I think it goes far, as far as I think our belief systems are involved. I think from the point that you get to go to a police station to report that you've been abused by a partner in a same-sex relationship, I think people who work in these structures that automatically do not take you seriously, then they will send you away and say, go and discuss this with your fellow partner, because they believe that it's a man-to-man, so it should be addressed and be resolved, in those sections. I think we have not been educated enough to a point where we have made to know that abuse could be, that it does exist within same-sex couples. And I think it's a matter of us as civil organizations and as activists that we need to go back to the general public and educate them about these things.
Fudi, I wonder if I can bring you back into the discussion. Lethu makes reference to activists and civil society organizations bringing the discussion to the public. But do you reckon that activists and civil society organizations are having enough of this kind of discussion within the community as a start before taking it to society in general?
So here's the thing. I'll make an example. There are laws of engagement, probably like hate crime, that should have a policy or a bill that should be acted, and it's not happening. That's one part. And people who engage in those acts in the communities are fine with it because they feel that's what it is. And the social system, which involves government, which involves the NGO would not be doing enough if the social system is not receptive to that. My take is there's an opportunity for a collective engagement from the government itself to use the likes of us as the NGOs to touch the ground more. We are working, but it's the drop in the ocean. We are engaging in various levels to educate communities about same-sex relationship, and it's not happening. So it's not just even limited to the police, the health systems, the schools. We would need to reframe the way we relate to lesbians, LGBTI community in the community for acceptance before we even begin to talk about how that influences the reporting at the police station. So if one lesbian goes to the police station to report a case of assault from the community member, that is not considered a case. They probably considered lesser beings in that instance, whereas they have an opportunity of treating them in the same level that they would. A lesbian from the same sex would go and report an assault, and they'll be treated as, you should go and fix your things. We don't know about you. So there is an opportunity of putting this in the social system that includes educating at school, that include educating in social spaces, that including creating awareness through media in all platforms so that it's accepted that there are people that are not that are heteronormative, that are not behaving in the same way as they do.
Let's speak about power dynamics if we can. I mean, currently there's a raging debate on social media about a very prominent couple who in many respects are the backdrop of our discussion today. Do you get a sense that there are individuals within the queer community who are by and large seen as untouchables, and that makes it difficult to hold them accountable?
Okay, firstly, I don't want to get into details about that, the recent discussions happening on social media. But what I want to say is that I think we should shy away from believing, which is the point I made earlier, from believing that gender-based violence or domestic violence only exists within heterosexual couples. And also, I think just from what Ufundi said, I think we also have as organizations and NGOs have also failed in the general public. I think in the perspective that I think we've actually made it about us. I think someone once spoke about stomach politics, that I think NGOs are afraid to speak the truth because they are afraid about losing funding from the government. I think that's where the actual issue begins, that I think we should go back to a point where we're able to discuss issues with the government where it really misses. Because I think because the problem starts from the point where when you go and report a case in a police station, they can't relate to you, to a same-sex couple. Because we're here today mainly because we've not been educated enough about same-sex relationships and the dynamics that happen within those things. I think a while ago, I think I shared the same thing even about pedophiles within same-sex couples. That it's just been made to be okay. That if another man abuses another man, that we've made it okay-ish. That we don't even view it as abuse because we're like, uyindoda, so melana yindoda. If I put it that way in school, you know, that's where it begins. That I think we've really shied out. We've really genderized abuse. That's where the problem is.
There are obviously other factors, Nomfundo, that we can't not speak about. Issues around money. Lethu alludes to issues around age differentials. There's matters of influence. All of these coalesce to create sometimes figures that are very powerful within same-sex relations. And again, sometimes that positionality enables people to really get away with injustices, if not outright crimes.
I have it different. And I have it different also because as much as same-sex relationship, they are. In the same-sex relationship, you will find that there is partners who coexist, one probably dependent on the other, especially in the intimate partner violence, one being able to dominate in the relationship, which is also common in the heteronormative ways of life. And then out of that, then the birth abuse. And because the narrative, it's not told publicly about the behind the door, it becomes difficult then to be able to relate as to what happens there, and the shame and the guilt that is associated with same-sex relationship then gets partners not to be able to talk about it openly. I wouldn't talk about prominence. I know nobody who would have acted differently from based on being prominent, especially in the same-sex relationship. But I am aware of relationships that are in balance as a result of one partner over the other.
Plenty to unpack. Hopefully, there are a whole lot more opportunities to do exactly that. For now, let me thank you for your time. Nomfundo Ndaba is the Acting Executive Director of the Forum for the Empowerment of Women. It's an organization for black lesbian women, as well as Lethu Bulose, who's the chair for the Gay and Lesbian Alliance of South Africa. Once again, to both our guests, thanks very much indeed.